Moving on to the main event, we have 1990's Tremors.
Oh, what a classic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've seen this, and I'm going to say something that sounds really old, but I remember renting this from Blockbuster Video with its sequels 2 and 3, and even 4, Back to Perfection. I
Yeah.
remember seeing the TV show on in the
So,
early
yeah, on
2000s
Sci-Fi.
on Sci-Fi, yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny you mention Blockbuster. I guess we're going to get into some of the background on the movie before we do a review. So 1990, this movie comes out, had a budget of $13 million because they went over budget. It was supposed to be a cheap movie for them at the time for Universal to license out. Ended up completely flopping, and Kevin Bacon was like, "Yes, I was in yet another flop. His movie career was heading downhill." And then magically, 2 or 3 years later, renting movies becomes a thing, and Tremors absolutely explodes. It's probably one of the most popular rent movies ever. You'd go to Blockbuster, they'd have giant displays of Graboids for people to rent Tremors. So it was really a movie that took off because of the VHS era.
Yeah. And Kevin Bacon at the time of filming this and when it was in theaters, his wife was pregnant for the first time with his first child. So
You had to
on
leave
top of
set to
on
go
yes,
go to the
they they
hospital.
they had a phone specifically on set for that. They filmed this in the middle of the desert, so that they had a phone specifically for that in case she went into labor. But through filming this and just the stress of that, dealing with the monsters, he was sleepwalking at night. There was one instance where he carried her out of the house and was saying that he has to save her. So he definitely had some stress behind this movie being filmed in the desert. He's like, I'm doing this monster movie about worms in the ground. He's like, what am I doing with my career? He was under some stress at the time there, and at the time he was very unhappy with working on this film, as clearly his character did not return for 2, 3, or any of the sequels that have
He
since come
he did
out.
return for a TV pilot, but that
Yes,
didn't get picked up.
and he was heavy behind that pilot. He was one of the leading forces to that pilot.
And he's
So he
he's come
eventually
back for
did come around.
interviews now, so he's
Yeah,
kind of back with them.
yeah, he's come around to it. It's like it's a movie that has aged to like fine wine now, and he sees that. And at the time, like you said, at the time it was considered a flop, but I think it's a massive success now.
Yeah, I think one of the funny things is that like the town that they filmed it in didn't really have the infrastructure to support a film crew. So they had like every single motel, hotel, whatever was in town, they had like every single room booked out for the crew. And it was just like it was just like they basically took over the whole town just to film this movie.
Yeah,
And it was like they were like there was like one bar in town, so everyone would be there at night. It sounded like it was a really like close knit group of people. Uh, Other people that are in this, Fred Ward, um, mainly known for this, Remo Williams. He did come back for the sequel movie,
yes,
Aftershocks, which, I mean, I will get to touch a little bit about that movie, but it was really because of the success of the rentals, they made that movie,
yeah,
which I guess is the equivalent of making like a streaming sequel these days. 'Cause,
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, yeah, because I think most of the movies after this first one were just straight to video releases. I don't think any of them got
yes.
theatrical releases.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Aftershocks, but I'm pretty sure they were all home video ones. Um, the second movie was made on a third of the budget of the first one.
I haven't seen that one in forever. I've seen Tremors, the
Yes.
original one, tons of times. I've seen it on TV.
I've
Like you
seen,
said, we've rented
I think I've
it.
seen two probably once. I've seen three a million times. I've seen four a bunch. It's all the TV series. I've watched five. I have not seen six or seven.
I have not seen anything past the TV series. I did one, two, three, four, which is like a prequel, really, and then the TV series, which has quite a lot of cameos in it. I was looking at the cast for that series, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
there was quite a lot of people in that series. I we're going to a convention this summer, and I was just reading up on Michael Roker, who a lot of you probably know from Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, Walking Dead. He was even in an episode of Tremors. I was like, whoa, I did not know that.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
it's kind of a really big franchise, and you look at the people that are in it. You have people that were from like from move on to go do Breaking Bad, and it's really like quite the franchise. I didn't
re-
know that Michael Gross was like apparently like a sitcom dad, and this was like
yeah,
he wanted to not be typecast anymore, and that's why he took the role of Burt Gummer.
yeah. He filmed this like the day after he filmed the final episode of that sitcom. Like that ended, and he was like, "Boom, I'm on set for this."
Yeah, and
And
then Reba's first movie
yeah,
role, first acting
yeah,
gig.
yeah. The Super Bowl national anthem this year. She this was her first acting gig before she was a single mom that worked too hard on Channel 11 on
Yes.
weekdays.
So like quite the cast on this one. It's kind of
And even yeah, Walter Chang from the Three Ninjas, right? That's him, right?
yes, yep. Walter Chang from Three Ninjas.
That's another '90s video store nostalgia for all you watchers there.
Yeah.
And then even another one, the we'll get to it. The little girl in town on the pogo stick. She was ended up going on to play Hammond's granddaughter in Jurassic Park a couple years after this came out. She eventually did come back for Tremors 3. She wasn't back for Tremors 2.
Yeah.
But
So it's kind of crazy, you know, like the stuff that they actually got into this movie and the cast that they got. It was really lucky. Um, it was kind of just like, hey, they have this idea for this movie. I think we should go with it, and they went all out. I think one of the funny. So, what version of this did you watch? Did you watch a Blu-ray? Did you watch the Arrow video release? Did you watch?
I watched a regular 1080 version.
Okay, so on mine, the Arrow release, they had like these like archival. They weren't Arrow special features. They were just kind of archival interviews that they had, and apparently, the special effects originally planned on having the beak covered up by the body of the worm, and then the beak would come out of the body of the worm. And apparently they got rid of the test footage for that because they were like, we're doing a movie about worms in the desert. We are not doing a different type of movie about creatures in the desert. But apparently there's a big convention every year in the town where this was filmed.
Oh, really?
Yes, and apparently they're one of the most popular items sold there are knit devices that you would put on a body part to make it look
Oh
like a
my
graboid.
god.
And they had it at the interviews, and they just like gave everybody one. It was pretty
That's
hilarious. So it's a really fun special. If you can get the physical release or get this to the featurettes, they're really funny.
Hey, I literally just got the Arrow release. I have the regular standard Walmart version too, but yeah, I just picked up the Arrow release, so I'm gonna look for that on the special
It's
features.
really funny. So I recommend anybody watching that. If you're gonna get the physical version, go for that. I think the digital versions are all paid for. There's no free version of this online, so you have to. I think it's like $10, $14 for a digital version. So if you can get the Arrow video on sale for about $20, I think it's definitely the set to get.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Diabolic has it. Diabolic has the steelbook version, and then you could pick up. I think Walmart has the regular Arrow release. It's not like this thick collector's edition release. Those are completely out of print. These for Aftershock are going out of print already.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of these left on Amazon, and Matt Frank had tweeted out that it was kind of like on sale. So I grabbed the regular Blu-ray. I didn't get the 4K version. I don't have a 4K player right now. I was like, eventually I could spring for the standard 4K release. Right now, I'll hold on to the collector's version of that Arrow release because I missed out on the collector's version for Tremors 1.
As did I.
I regret that, but the steelbook looks sweet, so I'm kind of also hoping that they do a steelbook for Tremors 2 as well.
Yeah, it
We'll
would be
see.
cool if they did. I haven't heard anything, but it'd be really nice if they did.
I
Because
did
the
see a
steelbook's the only way to get the Blu-ray and the 4K in the same package.
Yeah, so I'm hoping we see that soon. I did hear a rumor that Walmart is releasing a glow in the dark 7 movie collection. I don't know if it's DVD or Blu-ray. They also showed a Godzilla vs Kong with that, so keep an eye out for that. If we do see that come up, we'll share that out.
Yeah, and with all this Blu-ray news coming out, it sounds like Walmart is going to be one of the biggest. I mean, it actually is. It has 40% of the physical media market, but it sounds like it's looking to grow that, whereas
Yeah,
everybody else is looking to wind down on that.
yeah,
So
and
Walmart
even
might be the
FY,
spot for physical
yeah,
stuff soon.
even FYE has had a couple of Steelbook exclusives, so I'm hoping that even they throw their hat back in the ring. I mean, by us, we have one FYE on the island. We're Long Islanders, and there's only one, and that's all that's left here. All the other ones are either way like upstate or not even in the state anymore,
Yeah,
which stinks because that was a great store to pick up physical media.
it really was. It was like our go-to place after Blockbuster closed.
Yeah, my Best Buy's closing, but they already abandoned physical media, so that's what you get.
Yeah.
uh,
I still do pretty good over at our Target. I thought they were supposed to stop, but I just got
yeah,
Schitt's Creek on DVD. So
yeah, so yeah, they're downsizing a little at Target. I don't know if Target's gone all in on it yet. Well, we'll see where it goes because maybe they see Best Buy backing out. Maybe they're like, you know what? Maybe we could corner this physical media thing a little too, like Walmart is.
yeah. But
But
anyway, I guess we'll get into
yeah,
the
back to
review
Walmart, back to
part.
Tremors.
We'll get to the review part. So our main characters are let's get their full name. Let's get their government name first. We have Valentine McKeed, but played by Kevin Bacon, which is just Val, and then Earl Bassett, which is played by Fred Ward. They're the main characters of this movie. They're kind of just like two hillbillies, for lack of a better term. They're just, they do day jobs. They make enough money for a pack of smokes and some drinks at the bar,
Yeah,
and that's
just
it.
handyman.
So
Yeah,
it's kind of funny because Chang is kind of like the owner of the town, but it's like a completely run down town. So it's not like
yeah,
he can do anything. So they kind of just do odd jobs for him around town, and then they spend their money that they earn from him at his convenience store.
yeah.
So
I mean, that's all there is in the town is his convenience store. That's it.
yeah, and then there's anybody else who has a trailer there, and then you have Burt Gummer who lives up the hill from
And he's
there.
got his
And he's got a
compound.
compound because he doesn't trust the government. So it's kind of like a very funny like beginning because they're just doing like stupid odd jobs like pumping septic tanks and putting up wire fencing and just going around trying to hit on girls and stuff.
And there's not much to hit on,
No,
honestly.
no.
And so they're out putting up fence posts, and they hear about this new college student in town that's supposed to be there doing some research, and that's Rhonda LeBeck. She's played by Finn Carter, also known as Elizabeth Fern. Um, she hasn't been in a ton of movies, honestly.
No,
Um,
I think this was kind of like the peak.
yeah, this was unfortunately her peak, and she hasn't been doing well and since this movie. But we can touch back on that later.
Yeah.
So she's a student in town. They're like, oh, let's go see if we can find her. So they're driving around and they see a random truck and they're like, oh, I see a woman there. And Kevin Bacon's character is like, oh, I hope she's a blonde, beautiful looking. And then they pull up, and she's just got like this sun hat on and this giant glob of suntan lotion on her face. And she's like a seismologist studying seismology things, earthquakes.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this is not what I was hoping for from a college student. And then Earl's like, she's a good woman, because Earl's an older guy and Kevin Bacon's the younger, good looking guy. That's the player. He's got under his, what the hell do you call that flap where you keep the keys?
Sun visor?
The sun visor. He's got all pictures of these different girls that he's been with. So, and Earl's like, you just got to think about the future. And he's like, stop thinking about now. He's like, that's his whole thing throughout the movies. Like, you got to think ahead.
Yes. So, they go, they're going into town. They're having a good time, and they see somebody up in the telephone tower, and they're like, oh, what's going on with that? So they pull over and they find, I forgot who the character was, but
it's a homeless guy. I forgot what his name was, but basically he climbed up a tower and he was dead. And they bring him back to town. The doctor's checking out the body. He's like, he had to be up there for like 3 days, and he just died of dehydration and starvation.
Like, why would he climb up there and not get back down?
Yeah, so it's a little sus. And like earlier when they ran into Rhonda, she mentioned that there was some weird seismology readings going on, and meanwhile, the whole time, just Earl and Val are like, we're going to leave this town and go for a better life. So they were leaving town when they encountered him. They're like, let's leave one more time. So they're driving again. This time they're like, yeah, we're done with the town for sure. And they run across these road workers and the road's blocked. And they're like, what the hell? And they get out and they just see, well, prior to this, the road workers got killed by a graboid. They were next victims, and they just see a helmet filled with blood. So they turn around and they're like, there's a serial killer on the loose. And the phone to the next town, Bixby, is dead. So they're like, all right, let's go head back down. And then they get out and they see there's just this snake thing wrapped around their car. And of course, Cheng being the town guy, he's like, I'll buy that off of you. So he buys it, and then sure enough, he's charging people to take pictures with it in his store.
Yeah, I thought that was like a really funny scene because it's just like it was just like one of those things. It's like, yeah, like that's like the I own the town type of guy. It's like, oh, I'm gonna.
He just sees a way to make money off of everything.
Yes.
And...
So they end up driving by a local farm. All the sheep are gone, and then it's just, you see blood inside there, and there's a hat on the ground, and they move the hat, and then the farmer's head's there,
and that's all it's there.
And so that's like another scary thing. And then there's kind of like a really cool scene with
the doctor and his wife.
The doctor and his wife.
They had just like moved to the town, so they're living in like a trailer.
They're building a house.
Just the two of them, and this dude's like, he's kind of old.
Oh, like in his 60s, yeah.
Yeah, and like to be doing physical labor in the desert with your wife, who's also like in her 60s, to build a house. I don't know if they were the ones building it, but it seemed like they were.
Yeah, it seemed like they were. Yes.
And I was like, this is kind of like, all right, sure, you happen to believe. I mean, they weren't like in terrible shape, but like they were kind of old to be like.
Yeah.
I'm not now. Don't get offended, people, with us saying 60-year-old people are old, but
to build an entire house by yourself.
Lifting, you're talking cinder blocks.
He was talking about pouring the foundation, like he was like constructing. He wasn't just pulling up a trailer and living out of it. That trailer was for him to live in while he was constructing his home.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean that sounds kind of like, it didn't sound like Val and Earl were helping him build it.
Yeah,
Like those would have
like
been the guys to do it.
those should have been the guys to do it.
So he gets taken down by a graboid because he's like, oh, the music went out. They swallowed his generator. So then he swallows him. You have the wife in the car. She's trying to drive away. Car's slowly getting dragged down. She's trying to get the keys.
And you see all the snake things coming up to the window. Like, you still haven't seen the full graboid yet, just the snake feelers.
Yeah. So
And
yeah,
it pulls the car under. And it pulls out, and all you see is the headlights in the sky. It's a really cool shot. Now, originally, this scene was supposed to be a little more gruesome, the car getting pulled under. But I guess they wanted to make it for a more wider audience. So that's why they elected to go with the headlights in the sky instead, just to kind of paint the picture of what happened.
Yeah.
And so, like, the next day, Earl and Val are like, all right, we got to get out and warn the doctor that there's a serial killer on the loose, because now we got more victims. These utility workers are dead. The farmer's dead. We got the homeless guy up on the top of the electric pole dead. He's like, let's go check it out. So they get to the house, and they're like, they hear noise. They hear, I believe it's music, because the radio was on in the car as they got pulled under.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is that? And then they're walking around.
And
they just see like this crater. And then they begin hearing it. And then they step on something. They're like, what's that? And they start wiping it, and it reveals a front bumper, a grill. And they start wiping it, and all you see is the headlights. And they're like, something was big enough to pull us underground. And like, maybe it was that snake thing that was wrapped around our axle, which is why our truck got stuck. Maybe it was holding our truck and not just caught on it. And they're like, we got to get off the ground. These things got pulled underground. So they kind of take off, and they're like, we gotta move fast. And they end up. Do they get a horse?
They're on horse because they don't have any more car. The car is all messed up.
Yeah.
So all they have is the horses. So they're taking the horses and trying to get out of town. They run into Rhonda again, and she's explaining all the seismic stuff to them. Like, I'm getting all these weird signals, and they're plotting it on the map. And they find out, like, hey, there's probably like 3 of these occurrences happening at the same time.
Yeah. But prior to this, actually, though, they do encounter the first graboid on a horse. And this is when it chases Val, and they go to jump over a gap, and there's like a brick wall underground, like it was for a
like an aqueduct
canal,
or something. Yeah.
Like an aqueduct. And it goes through the brick wall and dies. And that's when Rhonda shows up, and she's like, oh, did you guys just detect some seismic activity?
Yeah, and then she sees the thing.
Then she sees the thing, and she's like, what the hell is that? So then that's when she starts explaining, hey, there's been all this activity. There's got to be at least 3 more of these things now. And that's when they go back to town, and they're kind of in Walter's convenience store, and they're just going over it, and they're talking about it, and then they're still trying to come up with a name over these things. Walter and Melvin, who's this kid that kind of just busts Val's balls the whole time, and he keeps faking like he's getting attacked, Melvin, and they're like, we're gonna kill that damn kid. And earlier in the movie, Walter mentions to Val and Earl that he's got that freezer that keeps making this noise. So they're in the shop, and they're like, well, what? These things are starting to detect movement and stuff. And that goes off, and then sure enough, everything begins shaking, and a graboid bursts through the floor of the convenience store and grabs Walter. And Walter is our next victim, our town mogul.
I know.
Running the town. One of the saddest deaths, I think, in the whole movie there was Walter.
Yeah, and I was like, no, not Walter. But so now they climb. Pretty cool scene. They're on top of the roof of the shop, and they're like, we have to get a hold of Burt Gummer and his wife. Was it Heather? Yeah, Heather.
Yes.
And so like they're trying to radio them, like, get off the ground. You can't be in your bunker. Go on your roof. And Bert's kind of like poo-pooing it, like, this is all concrete, reinforced. Nobody's getting through this. And then a graboid comes, boom, straight through the wall, and they just start shooting away, and they're hearing this off in the distance, just all the gunfire. And then all of a sudden they hear the gunfire stop, and you see what happens is Bert's shooting him, pulls out the elephant gun, starts shooting him with the elephant gun, finally kills the thing. But to them, they just hear the gunfire stop. So like, oh my god, they got Bert and Heather. They're freaking out. And then they go over the radio and they're like, we got him.
And they're celebrating, and they're like, well, there's still more.
Yeah, there's still two more.
Yeah. And so basically the whole town is stuck on their roof. Oh, sorry guys, I have some side issues here. They're stuck on the roof, and they're just trying to figure out a plan. And they kind of figure out, all right, we got this whole tractor, and during all this, there is some fumbling. You have Melvin was just sitting on top of a shed, along with Nestor, and they both get knocked off this shed, and this death annoyed the hell out of me, because Nestor had been there. He witnessed Walter get killed. All these people have been getting killed. Clearly, he knows these things come from under the ground.
Oh, he wins the Darwin Award.
Yeah, he wins the Darwin Award. Instead of climbing onto something, he plants his ass in an empty tire on the ground to hide. He just got knocked off a shed.
Let's just say he got eaten like groceries.
Yeah. Yeah, they just went straight up through that tire, and Nestor was gone.
Yeah, Nestor's no more. Yeah. Poor Nestor.
I have notes right here on the screen, and it literally just says, Nestor is an idiot and hides in the tire. It's literally in our notes for this episode, with a question mark next to it.
So, they're just like, oh man, like what are we gonna do? They have this bulldozer that they're like, hey, nothing can move that thing, like, because the Graboids are starting to attack the foundations of the buildings, so they can't stay on the roofs for much longer. It's gonna go down soon. So, Val and, oh my god, I keep forgetting Fred Ward's character's name. Val and Earl, they fight over who's gonna go run for this bulldozer. And they're gonna hook it up to basically like a giant, like one of those giant dumpsters. Yeah, it's not an actual dumpster.
It's like a trailer.
Yes,
it's almost like they took like a gas tank from a tractor trailer and they cut the top off of it.
So it's like solid steel.
Yeah,
like really, really solid. You're not getting through it.
But there's like no tires on the thing either. It's like flat. But they're like, that tractor is like a couple thousand tons, and it could pull anything. And sure enough, they chain it to that. They get that thing going, and like you said, Earl and Val were fighting over who was going to run for it.
And they end up kind of both running for it, but Val, you do get a couple big reveals. You got a big reveal in Chang's shop of the Graboid, but this is like the first really good like ground shot of it coming out of ground, and they were just like he's trying to like dodge it, and it's coming up, and they're trying to shoot at the tentacles coming out, not tentacle heads. Kind of really cool reveal. Behind the scenes footage of this is crazy because they literally dug a hole in the ground, put the puppet in, and then put dirt on top of it, like a little thin layer of dirt, and they literally just had the guy like popping up operating the puppet, which is kind of crazy.
The dude was buried underground.
Yeah, the guy was like,
in the desert.
Yeah, the guy's like, I would be buried under there for like 40 minutes. Like while they're like setting up the shot.
Jesus. That's insane.
Yeah.
I should watch some of the special features.
No, you gotta watch the special features on that disc. They're really good. It's really long though. Like there's multiple special features on there.
Yeah, Al does a great job when it comes to that.
So it's like I spent like an hour one day just watching all the special features. They were really good. A lot of good information in there too. Um, but yeah, so anyway, they get in the trailer, and then I have a feeling that there's probably some scenes that were cut because you go from everybody getting in the trailer to them pulling up to Bert and Heather's house. So
Yeah, they get their smooth sailing. Like,
yeah, no issues. Small little hiccup trying to get Bert and Heather into the thing because Bert's got a whole armory he's trying to bring with him. But it ends up working out pretty good. And then they're like, all right, let's just make it for the mountains because once we're in the mountains, that's solid rock.
so
Um,
they begin heading to the mountains. Bert and his wife have been making pipe bombs the whole time. So they head to the mountains, and it turns out they see the two graboids that remain going around because Earl had killed one, Val had killed the one on the wall. So the two that remain are just kind of on either side of both sides of the tractor off in the distance, and they're like, what the hell are they doing? Like, you see dirt kicking up, and they dug out a trench, and the tractor collapses into the trench. And at that point, the tractor can't go anywhere, but they're still in the trailer. They can't get in the trailer. So,
yeah, so the tractor goes into the trench, and it's like, obviously these things are getting smarter. They came up with a plan. So they are running for this giant rock formation in the middle of the desert because obviously they can't go through rocks because it's too solid for them. So they're running for it and they're going for it. And luckily, I believe they all make it.
yeah, they all make it.
Yeah.
Melvin didn't think he could make it, but Bert gave him an empty pistol, and he had stopped to try to shoot it and then realized it was empty. But it got him to run, is what Bert said.
Yeah.
So they get to the rocks, and they have these pipe bombs that had scared it off. They're like, you know what? What if we trick one of these guys into eating it? So they throw one out. They start fishing it out there, and boom! Earl nails it. It was Earl, I think, got the first one, right?
Yeah, and they just take a shower.
Yeah, they take a shower.
Of
They
the
just
blood and
get
guts.
showered in graboid guts. But one still remains, and they're just hanging out there, and waiting and waiting. And they're like, all right, let's try it one more time. So they throw another one, but this time they throw the thing back, and now they're all out there in the wild on the ground. They all somehow ended up off this rock mountain because they were trying to avoid the explosion because this last remaining graboid spit it back at them.
Yeah, yes.
So now you have Earl out in the middle of the sand, Val out in the middle of the sand, and I believe uh, Rhonda was out there too, but they're not moving. So I believe Val had the last pipe bomb left.
Yes, so yes, he has the last pipe bomb, so he just starts making a run for it. And again, the whole point of this was, Val, you gotta stop thinking about the present, start thinking about the future. So he's running, and Earl's like, what the hell is this guy doing? He has the pipe bomb, he throws it, overshoots the graboid, it explodes behind him, so the graboid starts going towards him faster. So he keeps running. He gets to the edge of the cliff, and the graboid goes boom straight out of the cliff, straight down, explodes because of gravity.
And what's funny is earlier on in the movie they make a statement like, how do you know these things can't fly? So that is kind of a foreshadowing of the ending of how they kill this last one, because it goes flying through the rock and it falls and it can't fly. But it could also somewhat be a foreshadowing of the third movie where they do learn how to fly.
Yeah.
And the reason why it goes flying out is because earlier it was explained that the explosion from those pipe bombs actually scare it. So they do throw a pipe bomb to scare one of them off so that they could run to the rock initially. This is how the whole crew got there. So like, oh, he's like, I'm gonna run to the mountain cliff and I'm gonna throw the pipe bomb. That way, this thing takes off even faster and bursts through the side and doesn't even think to stop. And that's how come it fell to the ground.
Yeah. But, then basically conclusion of the movie, everyone's back in town. Val and Earl say their goodbyes, and Val and Rhonda head on out to live their life together. That's basically the end of the movie. I feel like one of the big things that we forgot to mention was when they first encountered the Graboid that died in the little concrete wall thing, that they were getting followed by another Graboid.
Yeah.
So they had to spend the night.
Yeah,
They did the cool little pole vault rock
we did
thing.
forget that scene. I was thinking about that when we were talking about this rock.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's probably one of the most epic scenes in this movie is them going from rock to rock, and the music and soundtrack for this. Such a good movie. If you guys haven't seen Tremors, just go watch it. It's such a good movie. I watched this with my wife, and she absolutely loved this movie.
Yeah. It's a classic.
She was like, she's like, this movie's so good. She's like, she watches a lot of the movies with me. And she's just like, yeah, whatever. This one, she was like, when we were done, she's like, that movie was really good.
It is. It really is a classic, and I'm glad it has become a hit. And then Arrow's giving it this awesome treatment. I really hope that we at least get the original trilogy, if not just even up to the 4th movie, in these Arrow sets.
Yeah, I would like at least the 3rd one, because the way that this was done, I think one of the producers directed this one, and then each of the writers directed the next 2 movies.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone got a turn to direct a Tremors movie, obviously with significantly lower budgets, but it's like everyone got a turn. So, and I really do feel like the first 3 movies are like the core.
Yes, the core trilogy.
Yeah, the 4th one is a prequel, and the TV series was produced at the same time as the 4th movie.
Oh.
Apparently, the 4th, the series actually did quite well for Sci-Fi, but they went through a corporate restructuring, and it was one of the shows with one of the higher budgets, and that's why it ended up only lasting 1 season.
Now, I know you have the DVD set for the series. It's a cheap set. It's like only like not.
Oh, it's like $9.
It's like $9 for the
super
entire
cheap.
series.
I have it right here, actually.
They don't have a Blu-ray version of it yet. No, I don't know if it ever will.
I don't think it's ever gonna get a Blu-ray.
It's a nice looking set.
Yeah, it's a nice looking set. 3 disc.
I was reading up. Now, are the episodes out of order on that set, or did they air out of order or something?
So they aired out of order. On the set, they are the actual episode order that was intended.
Ah.
Same thing as Clone Wars, same thing as Batman the Animated Series. Whatever episodes they had, they just put out. Interviews with people from, oh my god, I forget the name of the company. It's like some production company that does all these. It's not actual Universal. It's like No Frills. That's the company that produces all these movies. They said that they felt like there was somebody going after the series, trying to get it canceled, because they produced the first half of the show, and instead of airing in order, they air the first 2 episodes that were had nothing to do with each other and were completely out of order and confusing for the audience. So they thought that originally it was trying to get sabotaged by somebody at Sci-Fi, and then eventually they did have that change, and it did kind of get canceled really before the first season was even done.
Which is a shame, because I remember it being a pretty good show.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, they have a lot of people in this. I'm sure.
Yeah, like the cast for that TV show was pretty impressive. The people that they managed to pull off for that. Like I said, you had Michael Roker. A lot of the people from the movies did come back. I don't know if Kevin Bacon came back for the show. He didn't.
It was just the revival series that was going to come out. But yeah, you had Dean Norris, who's obviously from Breaking Bad. You had Michael Gross. Obviously, Burt Gummer becomes the main character. Main villain of the show, played by Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, Christopher Lloyd.
You have Sarah Rafferty, who is in 3 episodes, but is mainly known for her role on Suits, which is like the biggest TV show on right now.
Well, that was on, but it blew up.
It's coming back.
It blew up
it's
because
coming
of
back.
the writers' actors strike. They're bringing a spin-off out. Yeah.
So many people in this series. It's actually, go to the IMDb page and just go scroll on it. They got so many people.
Yeah.
To at least do like 1 episode of the show. Yeah, and then I ended up getting all of the movies on Blu-ray. There was a European set that had all of them in one big, nice, fancy Blu-ray set. That's, of course, when I went to go order it, it was not available. Hopefully that comes out soon. But they do have DVD sets for the whole series, and it's like, what was it, like $20?
Yeah, they're pretty. The DVD
$17?
sets are pretty cheap. Yeah,
super cheap. And the cool thing is that if you do get the individual ones, the last 2 movies do come with digital copies. I haven't watched the last 2 ones because I'm a little afraid. Because it's got Jamie Kennedy, which the first one, Jamie Kennedy, was actually pretty good, and then John Hader, Napoleon Dynamite himself. They can't be that bad. I haven't watched them though. And one of the other things to check out is a book by Jonathan Melville. It is called Seeking Perfection. It is kind of like an unofficial guide to the Tremors.
That's a pretty cool.
Yeah, he says
book.
Unofficial Guide to Tremors. But he's actually featured in a lot of the official Tremors featurettes and the stuff that's on Arrow Video. So he really does know a lot of stuff. And this book goes through a whole bunch. I have pages bent because I have a toddler and he just grabs everything. But yeah, really fun book. I only got like a chapter in so far. I haven't had really the time to read, but really nice book.
Yeah,
Want to check that out?
Looks like a really cool book, actually.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon. And yeah, I would recommend definitely getting into the series however you can.
Yeah. If you've never seen Tremors, you are absolutely missing out.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Horror, sci-fi. I mean, this killed it in the '90s, and like you said, it absolutely crushed it in the video stores. Whenever we would see Tremors pop up, we'd be like, you know, back then you didn't have a hot feed on when these new movies are coming back.
They kind of just popped up in the
go to Blockbuster,
store.
Browse the new release wall, head to the sci-fi section, see what was new, and boom, one day Tremors 3 popped up, one day Tremors 2 was there, and then the 4th one. Yeah, I would love to see this get a revitalization, honestly. I mean, I believe
I'm surprised
that the 7th one, but I'm
surprised that the pilot episode hasn't leaked. So apparently that was done.
Yeah.
The Kevin Bacon pilot episode was done. I don't know if it's
online or is it just a trailer that they have?
I don't know if it's just a trailer. One of the rumors that I heard was because they did redesign the Graboid for the series, and it looks a lot like the worm from Dune.
Oh.
So I heard some people were like, it might have had something to do with that, but this is obviously way before the Dune movies were even probably even conceptualized that this happened.
Yeah.
Because I think this was like 2012.
Was it that long ago? Oh.
I think it was shortly after the recession, I think.
Was it? Oh.
Because Kevin Bacon got Bernie Madoff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But I don't quote me on that.
Look. Oh, no, it was 2018. I thought it was...
Oh, wow, that actually is quite recent.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
Okay, so...
Oh, it's crazy. It's even got the picture with the current sci-fi logo. I don't know why they attempted to pitch it to sci-fi again after they axed the original one, but I guess it's sci-fi.
Yeah, but sci-fi axes a lot of their good TV shows.
Yeah.
Like Being Human, such a good show, and then sci-fi kind of...
Yeah, I'm seeing it looks like there's only like a 2-minute and 40-second trailer for it.
I'm sure it'll pop up on Internet Archive one day.
Yeah. It's got to be out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said, check out Tremors. Thanks for joining us again. We're back, and we plan on going pretty strong from here on out. We're gonna try to be pumping out some episodes for you guys in the next couple of
Definitely.
weeks. We want to catch up, make up for some lost time. I mean, we intended on taking a break in December. We did not plan on taking a break for January and halfway through February, but here we are. You know,
That's
things
life.
happen. We got sick. As you saw, I even struggled a couple times here with the cough, but I made it through. Didn't do bad.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you soon.
All right. See ya. Bye.